Just on the issue of a ministry and a service of truth in the church, there's once again come to the fore a certain discussion in the media around the world as to whether the Catholic Church can support civil unions for homosexual couples. Can we support the legal institution of such things? And it's clear from the natural law, which is a teaching of Christ, meaning a teaching of the Word. There's a truth that's discovered, a light that's discovered in nature that comes from the creation, that ultimately comes from God in His eternal law. And then there's a light that comes through the revelation, what we call the revealed divine law. And in all, eternal law, the natural moral law, the divinely revealed law, and then coming right down to ecclesiastical law and local or international civil law. The church cannot support laws which promote a lifestyle in which there is an intrinsic evil. So this is a kind of a situation, I think, where there's been a lot of confusion in the church, where we seem to be making in opposition in a false way the gestures of mercy of Christ against the words of truth of Christ, to try to turn Christ inside out and make His words and gestures end up butting up against themselves. We in the church not only have to be in a ministry of mercy and compassion and sensitivity to people's suffering, and thereby our ministry also, what they call accompaniment today, but we cannot do that in such a way that we either neglect the ministry of light and the service of truth, or we somehow contradict it. And so this has come up again in various circles, even at the highest levels of the church. If you're interested in reading a very good document on it, Cardinal Ratzinger, who when he was prefect for the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, he wrote a number of documents in that capacity on this issue, and he directly says that the church can in no way support, not only can we not support the establishment of laws which make homosexual marriage, but we cannot in any way support laws which make the establishment of civil unions for homosexual couples, because we don't say that we're just on about sacramental marriage and we're not on about other things. We're on about the truth, both natural and supernatural, given both by God. And we cannot make a contradiction and opposition between the gestures of mercy of Christ and the teaching of truth of Christ. And today there seems to be a poverty in this area, a confusion. And we have to remain in the truth of Christ to be able to really give the mercy of Christ. So I say that because I think it's needed, and there we need to know where we stand. It is not like, because some people make these comparisons, that when marriage falls apart, the civil law has set up systems of divorce by which property and assets and monies can be equitably divided between divorcing spouses, and the church, while she does not support divorce and separation normally, will accept and tolerate that for the sake of a just distribution of such things, sometimes it's necessary to have a law that assists in those things. But that's on the backside, the downward or the climbing out of a pit to try to make a bad situation better, that we don't support divorce and separation. It is quite a different moral category to say that we support the descent into a hole rather than the climbing out of a hole, and we support the establishment of laws that break down the social order, break down marriage, wreck people's spiritual lives, lead them into sin directly, intrinsic sin, intrinsically evil sin, and ultimately could endanger their salvation. We can, as Christians, in no way, if we are to remain faithful to Christ, support the establishment, the direct establishment of laws that encourage and make it possible for an intrinsically evil lifestyle. And there we must never oppose the merciful gestures of Christ against the true teaching of Christ. We must be in both, and try to understand how we prudentially and with wisdom reply to suffering people and suffering situations and bring them the light and bring them into the truth, the light of God's love. Sorry about the extra little comments there at the end, but in lockdown and with Mass on a screen, there's a little bit more freedom for such things. Enjoy your Sunday, and hopefully we see an end in sight to this lockdown. Let us keep each other in prayer, and please do continue to pray for those that are really struggling in these days, materially, financially, psychologically, and spiritually.